I'm taking the kid.
At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Colorado Rockies. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Cash for Life from the New York Lottery. You could win $1,000 a day for life. By Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. By Spectrum. Hey Mets fans, get the best TV, internet, and voice service today at Spectrum.com. And by Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. Well, there are the May flowers that give way to a family Sunday here at Citi Field. Great day to bring the kids out to the ballpark and play some games. I don't know if I could hit that. I don't know what that game is right there. The Mets are 0-5 on this homestand. You wouldn't know it, though, by the energy outside the stadium. And with that, we welcome you inside the stadium. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Gelbs. Gary and Keith will come by in just a little bit. Like I mentioned, the Mets not having the best of times here on this homestand. 5 games, 5 losses, shutout in 3 of their last 4 games. And before the game today, some more bad news. Jacob deGrom expected originally to make his next start tomorrow in Cincinnati. The plans have changed. The Mets decided to go the safe route, put him on the DL, retroactive to Thursday. He will skip that 1 start and is still expected to make his next scheduled start afterwards on Sunday in Philadelphia. The Mets claim, both Mickey Callaway and Jacob deGrom, that he is fine, but out of an abundance of caution, they want to just hold off, make 100% sure, and then let him go on his way. So with Jacob deGrom down, that's 1 remaining ace in the current starting rotation, and it is Noah Syndergaard, who has had a good season, but a little bit up and down in terms of the usual domination we expect. His last start, a perfect example, gave up 3 runs in the first inning, 10 hits, a career high overall, but did get through 6 innings, giving up those only 3 runs in a 3-2 loss to the Braves. Well, for 30 years, you've had a chance to listen to the dulcet tones of Gary Cohen here on Mets broadcast. In spring training, we got to follow him for a day. That's next. Anniversary of Gary Cohen's first career play-by-play game for the Mets. It's been an incredible run, and earlier this spring we had a chance to watch him prior to his season.
Hey. Hello?
Hi, Gary.
I know that. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? I'm in the press room. The job is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during the baseball season, but it's even more than that. You just never know what's going to come up in the course of a broadcast. And because of the nature of baseball, that you have a 3-hour game with about 8 minutes of action, it's a lot of time to fill, and I never know what direction our conversations are going to go. I think the best way to put it is that during the baseball season, I spend every waking hour trying my best to know as much as I can. Hey, Mike. How are you, man?
How's it going, Gary?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's up, kiddo? How you feeling?
Hanging in there.
How's the baby?
Awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, awesome.
How old now?
Great. 18 months.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I think it's important to have some understanding of who the players are as people. I know there's been a statistical revolution in the game, and I know there's a certain part of the fan base that's very tuned into that. But at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings playing a game. And the more I can know about a guy gives me a better chance of humanizing him for the audience.
At first data field in Port St. Lucie, Florida, spring training on SNY is presented by Citi as the Mets play the Atlanta Braves. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to First Data Field in Port St. Lucie. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez, back with you for our 13th year of Mets baseball on SNY.
I think the most important thing is to educate, to entertain, and to just try to enhance the game in some fashion. I mean, you know, I started out in radio, and in radio, the game is your voice. Television's different. People can see what's going on. So if we can enhance the viewing experience in some way, whether it's with information, with a story, with a joke, with interaction between myself and Keith and Ron, I think that's the goal on a day-by-day and inning-by-inning basis. Make being a Mets fan more fun through our broadcast.
This is popped up, and that should do it. And the ball game is over.
Gary Cohen is absolutely one of the best, and now you see why. He and Keith on the call. Mets Rockies coming your way next on SNY.
Four straight, trying to sweep this series. Day off for Carlos Gonzalez,
And David Dahl slides into the second spot. He of the 3-0 swing with the bases loaded last night.
Nice piece on you, Gare. I thought that was very interesting, but I have one question.
What's that?
How did that cameraman in the final scene following you keep pace with you? He's the fastest walker in the world.
Ronnie can keep up with me.
He had no sympathy when I had my partial knee surgery last year, my knee replacement. I had to say, Gary, slow down. I can't keep up.
Just trying to get where we're going as expeditiously as possible, Keith.
There's Noah's numbers right there, his Toyota numbers. His last outing, if you recall, the first game in this series, he got jumped on early by the Braves. He had 3 runs on the board before you can bat an eyelash, but he settled down and threw 5 scoreless after that. They need a win from him today, Gare, to stop this 5-game losing streak.
And that's usually been a pretty good formula after a Mets loss. The last 17 times Syndergaard has taken the mound after a loss, the Mets are 13-4. Charlie Blackmon leads off. Purple jerseys for the Rockies today. You were asking about that last night. First pitch from Syndergaard for a strike, and we're underway.
I like purple. That's a nice. I like that look.
So you got the purple against the black sleeves as opposed to the black vests against the black sleeves that they had last night. 3 infielders on the right side against Blackmon. And he goes after the changeup and misses, and it's 0-2.
I felt that Syndergaard has yet to find his rhythm of the season. I think he's been more brute force with his pitches. He's an obvious power pitcher. I don't think he has really found the zone yet on his secondary pitches. He's been sporadic. Maybe today's the day.
Well, 2 starts back against St. Louis, he was the dominant Syndergaard that we anticipate seeing on a start-by-start basis. But then that last start against Atlanta was troublesome because the Braves were able to hit virtually everything he threw up there, particularly early in the game. A lot of first-pitch fastball swings, a lot of first-pitch fastball contact. Blackmon gets jammed and pops one foul, headed toward the dugout, and it'll be untouched. One of the things that you give up in the shift. Nobody there to catch that pop-up in foul ground.
Well, if you remember that first inning, Ozzie Albies first pitch hitting fastball base hit. Ozuna followed with the double to set up for Freeman, and Freeman and Markakis came up after and had really good at bats, 2-2 count base hits to get the 3 runs in.
0-2 to Blackmon with David Dahl on deck, and he gets him with a changeup for the first out of the day.
That's his second changeup right here, and that is a terrific pitch. Good movement, starts out on about an inch off the outside corner, and then tails away around 4 inches outside. You can't hit it.
Didn't have as good a changeup that last start against Atlanta. Had a great one in St. Louis, and that one as much movement as we've seen this year from that change. Here's David Dahl, and he hits one off the fist to shortstop. Grab by Rosario in the shift for the second out.
And your Lexus Mets defense, Lobaton, it's his turn to go behind the plate. Wilmer, of course, at first with the left-hander Freeland on the mound. Everybody else is pretty much every day. Frazier's only missed 1 game this year. In the outfield, Lagares, of course. Well, he's got a cannon too, you know.
Yes, he does.
You can move that cannon over to the middle to Lagares if you like, but they both got good arms.
Well, Cespedes last night picked up his 4th outfield assist with a brilliant throw to the plate in the 9th inning. Here's Nolan Arenado, who delivered the keynote in last night's game with a home run into the apple in center field. Arenado now with 8 home runs, 5th in the National League with that .321 average, top 10 in on-base percentage, and in slugging, just simply one of the best in the game.
No doubt about that.
And the curveball from Syndergaard, 2-0.
6th year.
Did he swing at that?
He did. He did swing. 6th season for Arenado, and boy, oh boy, just from the get-go, just wearing it out. Great glove.
Noah pops him inside at 99 miles an hour, and it's 2-1. He's only 27, and his offense just keeps getting better. His defense was a finished product when he arrived.
Well, Syndergaard's got a good fastball. I can tell from the camera. That's a good slider. And he doesn't have much of emotion. It just shows how strong he is, Gary. You got DeGrom with the wind-up and gets his body with it. There's very little to Syndergaard throwing the ball home. It's just tremendous arm strength.
And he misses high with that 3-1 fastball, and Arenado's on with a 2-out walk. So Syndergaard, who does not walk many, that's 7 walks in 41 1/3 innings this year. And he'll face Gerardo Parra with a man on. There's Jacob deGrom, who's now been officially placed on the disabled list, retroactive to Thursday. That'll make him eligible next Sunday to pitch in Philadelphia. And the Mets going to call up lefty P.J. Conlon to start tomorrow night in Cincinnati. It'll be his major league debut.
I had a feeling that they were going to DL deGrom. I mean, it's just a skip of a start.
There's Gerardo Parra celebrating his 31st birthday today, and he takes below the knees for ball 1. Well, I asked specifically today whether deGrom is suffering any symptoms at all, any swelling, any pain, and I was told none. He had his bullpen yesterday, everything felt fine, but they are exercising an abundance of caution and keeping him from his start tomorrow.
Absolutely. And you've got, you can ill afford to lose either Syndergaard or deGrom the way things are right now. And even if they were going swimmingly, you don't want to lose any of these two to your top flight starters.
Mm. 2-1 to Parra, who's hitting cleanup for the first time this year. I guess that's his birthday present. Get to clean up against Syndergaard.
Only 1 home run on the year and 4 RBIs. Parra's a good veteran journeyman player. Good glove too.
Arenado at first and 2 out. And Parra lifts one along the line. Cespedes over near the sidewall and reaching in, and he plucked it. Nice play, Cespedes. He continues to make every play in left field. That required a deft touch coming to the sidewall and plucking it away from a potential suitor. Nicely done.
Oh, 2 Cespedes. They couldn't go wrong.
If the other guy catches it, does it count? Off for the first time this season. Second straight day off for Michael Conforto, who sat last night, and again today, this time against the left-hander Kyle Freeland.
24 years old, #1 draft pick by the Rockies in 2014, 24 years of age, Denver native.
Juan Lagares leads off and pulls one through the hole for a base hit. So Lagares, who started the day with a .326 batting average, betters that on the first pitch he sees from the lefty Freeland.
Well, Juan, I tell you what, when he's been in the lineup, he's been doing a good job. Continues to swing the bat well, get on base. He's up forward in that box. So he's pretty widespread. You see his back foot deep in the box.
So now Cespedes, who has struggled against lefties, as this entire team has. The Mets as a team hitting just .209 against lefties with only 3 home runs in 254 at bats, which is shocking. Cespedes hitting just .107 against lefties, and he has one of those 3 home runs. And he takes a fastball strike from Freeland.
Well, they need Cespedes to get hot here, and Mickey Callaway's been kind of juggling the lineup around. Remember, this club, as Steve Gelbs mentioned in the open, has been shut out 3 of the last 4 games. So you're trying to find the right. It's like tinkering with an automobile.
Nice changeup by Freeland to get ahead on Cespedes. 0-2.
Freeland was 11-11 last year, had a great start and just did not finish strong at all. But he pitched 3 sparkling innings of relief against the Mets last year in Colorado.
Pitched well and lost in his last start. 7 innings against the Cubs, allowed 3 runs. Yanked foul by Cespedes.
What you don't want to do offensively when a club collectively is struggling is you don't want to try to hit the 8-run home run. It's a virtual impossibility. Stay within yourself.
It would have to be 7 bases.
You have to bat around almost too every time.
Instead of a diamond, you'd have to have an octagon. First time in 8 years the Mets have had 3 shutout losses in a 4-game span. Trying to avoid an 0-6 homestand. And a couple of those back in 2012. Don't want to have too many of them. Luke to center field. Blackman coming on, and he has to play it on a hop. Blackman had thoughts about coming to get that ball, but pulled up and let it drop for a blue pit for Cespedes, and the Mets have the first 2 men on.
Well, Blackman's the only guy in that outfield that doesn't have a gold glove outside of Dahl, the starters, but he is a fine fielder. Lagares does the right thing here. Get halfway. Don't bounce around.
So the Mets have the table set in the opening inning. And now is Drupal Cabrera, who's 4 for 9 in this series, including a first-inning home run on Friday night. He has been the one bright spot in this offensive routine all season. And Freeland misses badly with a first-pitch fastball.
.345 this year against left-hand pitching with a home run and 29 at-bats. That's 10 hits. He has just been raking since after opening day, so from game 2 to this point.
He's hitting .336 for the year, which is second in the National League behind Nick Markakis of the Braves. Lagares at second, Cespedes at first, nobody out, and Cabrera lines one into left center for a base hit, and that'll bring in the game's first run. Lagares races home. Cespedes trying for third. He gets there safely, and back to first goes Cabrera with an RBI single. 3 straight hits for the Mets. And they've got their first lead since last Sunday in San Diego. It's 1-0 New York.
Mets turns to run an ambush here. High fastball. Oh, a little bit change up. Stayed back on it. Got it up. And Cespedes never stops. Never hesitates. Challenges the arm of Parra, and notice Arenado here knows he has no chance on really not a strong throw from the left fielder Parra. He goes and gets the ball and prevents the back runner Cabrera from advancing to second. He knows how to play the game, Arenado.
2 Gold Glovers in conversation there.
2 guys that know how to play the game right there.
Early visit to the mound for Steve Foster, the Colorado pitching coach. so judicious about saving their mound visits with the new rule. As the season moves along, they're becoming less reluctant to go out there, realizing they're not going to run out. Todd Frazier takes outside, ball 1.
I still think 6 is plenty.
Yeah, it is.
In the course of the game. You don't have to pull back. If you want to go visit someone early in the game, it's not jeopardizing you for the rest of the game.
Absolutely not.
Like a challenge.
It's just that early in the season, nobody really knew how to handle it. Because in the past, teams averaged far more visits, and now they know they can't, so they were holding them back, thinking they would run out, but nobody's come close to running out yet, at least down to the games we've seen. Todd Frazier 2 for 8 in this series, including a home run on Friday night. Mets looking to put up a big number in the first. They've already got a run in, nobody out. And Freeland bends him back, and it's 2-0. Todd has also struggled against lefties this year. He's hitting just .167 against left-handers.
He had a tough at bat last night in the 6th inning. Runners on first and second, 1 out, hit a bullet at the shortstop. Double play ended the inning. Unlucky. What I've seen from Todd, Gary, is a very determined hitter. I can see it in the look in his eye, his focus when it's late and close. He's a tough out with men on base.
He's got a 3-0 advantage here. Swings and flies one along the right field line. Dahl coming over toward the line and makes the catch. Cespedes will tag and score. Cabrera holds at first, and it's 2-0 New York on the sacrifice fly for Todd Frazier.
Well, Cespedes' hustle going first to third on a base hit to left center sets up that second run. And we'll take a look at the Dodge defense, Rocky defense, excuse me. Tony Wolters back on the plate. He homered in the first game of the series. You've got a Gold Glover over there in Arenado, of course. In the outfield, another Gold Glover in Parra, and Blackman as good as anybody in center field.
Here's Wilmer Flores playing first base against the lefty, and he gets ahead of one and pulls it foul. Wilmer has pinch hit in each of the first 2 games of this series and had a base hit each time. He had been in a deep slump, hitting balls hard, but not getting many results, and now he seems to have fought his way through that.
I think he's starting to come around a little bit now. He's hitting some tough luck, very tough luck, Gary, but uncharacteristically hitting .172 against lefties.
Of course, most of his starts are against lefties. He pops this one up in the middle of the infield. The shortstop Story will take care of it for the second half. So 2 away. Now Jay Bruce dropped to 6th in the order against the lefty today. Again, Conforto sitting for a second straight day. It's interesting. Mickey Callaway had said after the game Friday night that Conforto was going to get a mental health day yesterday, and he was asked today whether he intended it to be 2 days off in a row, knowing there'd be a lefty on Sunday, and he was a little ambiguous in his answer. He said, "Well, it just worked out that way."
Well, he knew that
since he obviously knew there was going to be a lefty pitching today.
And you know what? You always want to give someone a day off with an off day when you get a regular, but Conforto's a different case. He's slumping. And you get the 48 hours is a big difference. And you're going to go into Cincinnati, which is a tremendous hitter's ballpark, a bandbox, against a pitching staff that is always at the basement in ERA.
Worst in the league so far this year, and 3 righties starting in that series for the Reds, with Homer Bailey pitching tomorrow night. 1-1 to Bruce, who's 3 for 8 in this series. Cabrera at first and 2 out, and he lays off the slider. And it's 2-1. City probables. P.J. Conlon coming up to make his big league debut. The lefty tomorrow night against Bailey. Jason Vargas Tuesday night, looking to get something going in the right direction against Luis Castillo, and then Zach Wheeler Wednesday afternoon against Sal Romano. There are no gimmies, but certainly for this struggling Mets team going into Cincinnati has got to be something that they look at as a tonic. And the Reds have just struggled in every area They're 8-25. They're last in the league in ERA. They're second to last in the league in runs scored. They're just not a good team, and the Mets certainly hope that that can point them in the right direction. 3-2 to Bruce.
Well, the Reds are 8-25 on the year. That pretty much, they're 12 games out. The season's pretty much over for them. But there's never a given in this game. You're going to have to go in there and whip them.
You got to still have to pitch to Joey Votto and Eugenio Suarez, who's been red hot coming back from a broken thumb, amazingly, in only 2.5 weeks. They got a Gold Glove catcher in Tucker Barnhart. So they've got some good players. They just haven't done much as a team. 3-2 coming, and Bruce skies one to right center field. Blackman going back to the warning track, has room, and puts it away to retire the side. Let's get a couple in the opening inning off Freeland and hand Syndergaard a 2-0 lead going to the second. At the bottom of the first inning, Yoenis Cespedes has come out of the game. Brandon Nimmo has replaced him in left field, and we're going back and looking and seeing whether there's something we can spot as to why Cespedes might have left the game. Meanwhile, Trevor Story leads off the second against Noah Syndergaard, who has a 2-0 lead, and misses with a curveball for ball one.
There's always a concern because Cespedes has had leg issues since being in the orange and blue.
He had an active first inning. Remember, he went to the sidewall to catch that fly ball that he had to reach into the stands for. He got a base hit, and then he went first to third on the base hit by Cabrera and came in to score on the sacrifice fly. So don't know at what point anything might have bothered him, if at all, but he's out of the game. Story grounds one into the shift. Cabrera playing on the left side. That's a 4-3 put out for the first out. Let's take a look at Cespedes going first to third.
I don't see anything.
Nothing to see there.
Is it before second base? It looks like quad.
Well, we've seen him do that a lot going back to last year when he had the quad problem, pushing on it.
Once you pull those muscles, they are nagging, and you have to, and I'm sure Cespedes is, you have to stretch and really stay after it because they just don't go away.
Well, you know, he's done so much work to try and push himself in a better direction as far as hydrating more and doing less weight-bearing exercise, more running, more stretching to try and stay away from those nagging leg injuries. And we don't know if that's the case here, but wait to find out with everybody else. Ian Desmond batting with 1 out and nobody on. Desmond 2 for 9 in this series. And he skies one to deep left field. Back goes Nimmo for a look, but that ball's out of here. Ian Desmond with a home run, his 5th of the year, to cut the Mets lead to 2-1.
Well, I came to the park today, folks, and I saw the lineup, and I said, gosh, why does Bud Black have Desmond in the lineup when he's struggling so much and one of the best right-handers in the league? And what does he do?
Keith, it's been one of the puzzling things about the early season for Noah Syndergaard, the ability for opposing hitters to make contact, and solid contact, against his fastball. He throws harder than any starter in the major leagues, and yet he's having trouble getting swings and misses with his fastball. And there, Desmond hits it well out of the ballpark.
Well, his swings and misses are down enormously.
Daniel Castro grounds one down to first, and Flores handles it for the 2nd out. In his last 2 starts, he has had a total of 1 swing and miss against his fastball.
Well, you can go back his last 3 starts, Gary, and only 5 swings and misses. But I'll say this, 2 of them against the Braves, the hardest team in the league to strike out. And let me tell you, they have impressed me in the series here when they took from the Mets. And the Cardinals was the other team that are 4th in least amount of strikeouts. Now, when you face a power pitcher, Gary, you can't go up there wailing like, you know, swinging from your shoestrings. You got to be more compact and ready to strike. And when you face a hard thrower, when I faced Nolan Ryan, did I look for his curveball? No. I got set and ready and super ready to hit the fastball. And I think that hitters are adjusting. They're getting a little more familiar. It's all part of the process.
There's a swing and miss on the fastball. But let me ask you this, Keith, because we see it with DeGrom. He gets far more swings and misses on his fastball, even though he doesn't throw as hard, but he throws now more up in the zone than Syndergaard does. Do you think that has something to do with it, the location of those fastballs?
Yes, and I think Syndergaard could learn from DeGrom and pitch upstairs, because he's got that live fastball. He's down in the strike zone. Remember, we mentioned all hitters today are low ball hitters, so you're throwing into their strength. DeGrom has found great success up here. He's got great secondary pitches. And DeGrom, right now, DeGrom is more refined pitcher than Syndergaard. I think as far as commanding all of his pitches and throwing them whenever he wants, Syndergaard is still, he's got a great slider, great changeup, but he's still, to me, he's a brute force pitcher.
Well, he just did something he rarely does. He just walked his 2nd batter. This time the number 8 hitter Walters, and that brings up the pitcher Freeland, who's a lifetime 143 hitter.
Okay, there's a nice, see, he's just been not getting ahead. And Gary, and another thing to support the less swings and misses is that he is down from what, 98.3 to 97. 97.3. So that's 1 mile per hour. And what is that in terms of a hitter being able to? 97 still up there, pretty good. But it does make a difference at 1 mile per hour.
Off the glove of Syndergaard. Rosario steps on the backside, retired. Word on Cespedes, right hip tightness. That's why Yoenis came out of the game. Meanwhile, the Desmond home run cuts the Mets lead in half, 2-1 in the 2nd.
facet at bat. And then there was Ron Swoboda. The Mets win a third game from the Orioles.
For my money, the greatest catch in World Series history. This Mets memory presented by Burden LLP Accountants and Advisors. And Ron Swoboda is here today, and he'll be with Steve Gelbs in a little bit.
The stars aligned in that October.
Can you believe next year is going to be the 50th anniversary of the '69 Mets?
And I hope there is just a huge celebration here. Everybody forgets they thought the Mets won 100 ball games.
Well, they went, what, 37-11 down the stretch?
Unbelievable. And the pitching, of course.
Jose Lobaton leads off the second against Kyle Freeland. Lobaton 1 for 4 in this series. Syndergaard and Rosario to follow. So we mentioned it going to break. The news on Cespedes, not his quad, but his hip. And they're calling it right hip tightness. It would appear right now, with the news about DeGrom today, as Lobaton bangs one to right, and coming in, Dahl has to play it on the hop, and Lobaton has an opposite field hit. This is Cespedes after a single. Banging on a hit there. It seems to me that we're in a mode right now where the Mets are exercising enormous caution, especially with their most important players. As they did with DeGrom, they're going to do with Cespedes and take him out of the game.
Don't forget now, this is just a cautionary point here. This is a day game after a night game.
Syndergaard fouling back the bunt attempt.
And
of
course,
1 for 15 at the plate this year.
And of course, in the very first inning, if you're warm and you get loose, but you kind of get into the rhythm of the game. In the first inning, you're busting first to third.
And it's a cooler day today after a string of warmer days, and I wonder whether that has any impact as well.
I got my jacket on, my SNY jacket.
You look spiffy.
And I got my heater on underneath the desk, folks. And this is May, and I had to turn the heater on. It's cold.
I think you thought you were done with the heater for the year. I thought I was done with the sweater vest for the year.
I've lost confidence in Gary and his weather calls, and it came back and bit me.
I thought you took over weather duties from me a few years ago, since you got the iPad with the moving radar and all. I will say this: I gave you a little advance warning about Cincinnati. You were ready to go into polos, and I told you the night games might be chilly there.
I brought a sweater.
Okay. To the Syndergaard with Rosario on deck.
Freeland's given up 5 home runs, 4 in his first 2 starts. Got off to a real bad start his first 3 starts. He's pitched good his last 2.
Rockies have been getting great starting pitching up and down the line, and the slider strikes out Syndergaard. First strikeout of the day for Freeland. Download the app, play for free, start your streak, and compete to win $5.6 million. Download Beat the Streak today in the App Store or on MLB.com/BTS. Here's Ahmed Rosario hitting 9th in the order again today. Much better at bats over the last couple of days. 3 for 7 in this series. See if he can keep that going. Lobaton at first and 1 out.
He's a hacker. He doesn't waste time. Interesting that the graph we had yesterday on him, how he swings well above the league average for up and in. He also for the ball down and away. So it's hard to cover the righty-righty or lefty-lefty. It's hard to cover the entire plate.
And he has to move his feet. The thing that shocked me about this graph is that he swings less often than the average hitter against pitches in the middle of the plate.
And
I mean, if you're a hacker, wouldn't you be a hacker at pitches in the middle of the plate too?
Yes, it reminds me of the story, and I've said it before. Manny Sanguillen, great pirate catcher during the Clemente era when they won in, what was it, 71. And Sanguillen was killing the Cardinals, and ball, like Yogi Bear, balls over his head. And Red just called a meeting and said, hey, just throw it down the middle and see if we can get lucky there.
Well, I don't think that Rosario has reached the point of being a great bad ball hitter yet, but he is a bad ball swinger, and that's something he's trying to work on every day.
He's got to learn to lay off, and I had to learn, Gary, to lay off the toughest pitch to hit's the up and in pitch. It crowds you. And you've got to discipline yourself to take that pitch, and the umpires don't call it a lot. But I have not seen Ahmed with his start right now hitting 237. I haven't seen him second guess himself at the plate or get timid. He's still swinging the bat aggressively and with authority, and I like that.
Freeland tries to pop him inside but misses, and Rosario runs a full count. He's only drawn 4 walks, but he's got himself a full count here. Lagares on deck. You got Lobaton at first. Not running, and Rosario pops it up.
There's the up pitch, Gary.
Walters out, Arenado in, and Arenado puts it away. 2 out. Caught it in foul territory. So 2-away now. Lagares, who swung at the first pitch Freeland threw this afternoon and grounded one into left field for a base hit, and came home to score the first run of the game. Mets got both their runs in the first. Rockies countered with an Ian Desmond home run in the top of this inning.
Juan's one of those hitters that spits sunflower seeds while at the plate. Always loads up before he gets it up at the bat.
Do you ever do the sunflower seeds?
No. There you go.
I'm not quite sure about the manipulation of the seed and getting the shell off while it's in your mouth and with all the other seeds. Not sure exactly how that works. That's drilled down the left field line. Foul.
I didn't like chewing gum or sunflower seeds, anything when I was playing. Not playing, up in the at bat. I couldn't multitask. I had to have complete focus on the pitcher here.
See, the gum chewing, I can see that. I mean, it's fairly simple. You're just working your teeth up and down on the gum, but the sunflower seeds, much more complicated.
I tell you what, when they're salted, they can upset your stomach.
Don't want to be having that. Seeds, as many as you want if you're a big league ball player. Gum.
Well, when I played, it was what they used to give you salt tablets because it helped you retain your water. And I never bought that. I never bought into that. So I don't know if there's anything correct about that or not.
Well, you think that's why some guys like the salted seeds? Same principle.
I have no idea. Maybe they like the salt.
Broken back grounder down to Arenado at third, and the running toss in the dirt, but scooped out nicely by Desmond, and they get Lagares to retire the side. Rare bad throw by Arenado, but Desmond saves him an error. We head to the third. Syndergaard back to the mound with the Mets up 2-1. Mets pitching leaders. Robert Gazelman tied with Jacob deGrom for the wins lead. We're mixing up our starters and relievers here. deGrom ahead of Syndergaard in the strikeout race. Syndergaard can take over that lead today with a big strikeout game. He only had 3 in his last start in 6 innings against the Braves. 1 so far today. Second time through the order now for Noah. Charlie Blackmon, who was that strikeout in the first inning. Takes a first pitch changeup for a strike. David Dahl, Nolan Arenado to follow after Blackmon in the third. Charlie Blackmon coming off an MVP caliber season last year. Batting champ, 37 home runs, led the majors in triples and runs scored.
Just a phenomenal year from a leadoff hitter. I would love to hit third.
103 RBIs as a leadoff hitter. Darren Erstad was the first to drive in 100 as a leadoff hitter with the Angels. It's a little different though in the National League. That's drilled into right field, a base hit for Blackmon. Giving ground is Bruce. Blackmon will hold at first with a leadoff single.
Ricky Henderson never drove in 100.
No. Walked too much.
That's right.
But, you know, I mean, Erstad driving in 100 was impressive in the American League, but in the National League where you have the pitcher hitting 9th or 8th in some cases, it's got to be that much more difficult. You don't have as many base runners.
Blackmon right on that pitch. Down inner half.
His 4th hit in the series. Here's David Dahl, who lined out to short on the first pitch he saw. And again attacks the first pitch fastball and fouls it back.
Dahl last night was it a pinch hit with the bases loaded, 3-0 count, swung, and Bud Black sent the word up this morning that he had the take on it. He missed the sign. There's Buddy.
But to Dahl's credit, he then got a base hit on the next pitch and drove in a run to make it 2-0. We saw Dahl 2 years ago shortly after he came up, and he is a really good hitter. Missed all of last year with a stress fracture in his rib. He's had a lot of physical issues. He suffered a lacerated spleen when he was in the minor leagues in 15. Slowed down his development. Collided with a teammate, and it was a really serious injury and could have been even more serious if they hadn't attended to him as quickly as they did. But in his rookie season 2 years ago, he got in 63 games and he hit .315. They also love his outfield play. And a broken bat looper. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Blackmon read it well. Now he hesitates, but he'll go on to third. And the Rockies have first and third and nobody out. Dahl shattered his bat but dropped it into a good spot. Blackmon, we mentioned last night, sometimes a strange base runner, and this was strange.
Well, he doesn't need help here. I don't know what he's thinking. You can still keep your eye on the ball there and make a decision before you reach second, but he was helped out by third base coach Stu Cole.
So Syndergaard holding a tenuous 2-1 lead now has to face Nolan Arenado with first and third and nobody out. Arenado walked his first time up.
Blackmon is a hustler. I like him. He's always on point. He's a solid soldier. Look at Arenado not even holding the bat until he goes into a stretch. Interesting.
There goes Dahl. No throw by Lobaton, and Dahl steals second. His first stolen base of the year. So that takes the double play out of order.
Well, I think that everybody kind of realized that's something to exploit with Syndergaard is the stolen base. That first and third is a lot better situation, obviously, than second and third. And you got the infield back. They're conceding a run. Well,
Noah's done a little better job at concentrating on the running game, but think anytime you get a pitcher that tall, the mechanics are such that it's really difficult for him to get it to home plate quickly.
But he's, you know, he hasn't got a big motion like Doc had, Dwight Gooden, with the big leg kick.
One and one to Arenado with Gerardo Parra on deck. And a good curveball, 1-2. He has quickened up his times to the plate. He's used to be like 1.7 seconds. Now he's more like 1.3 or 1.4. Well, Arenado led the National League in RBIs 2 years in a row in 15 and 16. Drove in 130 and barely missed leading the league last year. And he's got something in his eye.
Oh, you want to definitely get that out of your eye here. I like the flip. Interesting how he just holds the bat with one hand. Kind of. That's just his way of staying loose.
Infield stays back. 1-2 count coming. And it's off the corner at 98. 2-2.
That's a very odd practice swing by Parra right there.
Well, that's how you drive in all those runs.
Well, yep, you're. If you look at it though, Gary, it's almost a 2/3 failure. if you want to look at it in reverse.
It's such a negative attitude.
I know it's a tough game.
It's a game of failure. 2-2 from Syndergaard. Misses with the changeup. 3-2. Well, he walked Arenado the first time. Noah's gone 15 straight starts without walking more than 2 batters. He's already walked 2 today. We've got Blackman at third and Dahl at second with nobody out. Parra waiting on deck. Another day where Syndergaard has not been overpowering, at least early in this game. 3-2 coming.
Yeah,
and he walked him.
2 straight change-ups. I don't like that. I just don't. That's his 3rd pitch.
He just does not seem to have confidence in an ability to blow hitters away with his fastball as he was earlier.
I think it's a trend in the game, Gare, that we've gotten away from number 1. And people want to trick people. Here's another classic example. 0-2 that gets to 3-2. Because of secondary pitches. When you 0-2 on a hitter, you got him by the throat, man. Don't let him up.
And again, I go back to where is the high fastball that is so effective for other pitchers in getting strikeouts in this era of strikeouts.
Here's the pitch. That's a slider that misses down and away. Fastball pitch to hit, but up. 1-1. Then a good slider down and away. Another cutter that missed. Fastball, he came in and he got a piece on. Here comes the 2 changeups. And not close.
So now the base is loaded, nobody out for Parra, who had a foul fly ball that Cespedes made a nice play on. And a first pitch curveball down for ball 1.
It's become a brick and ball league here. I'm sorry.
But
that's what I see.
But how much for Noah is it a reaction to the fact that people are not swinging and missing at his fastball the way he's accustomed to?
I mean, all the hard throwers that threw bullets threw predominantly fastballs. And here's a changeup. Now he's 2-0. Slider, change, and if I'm a hitter, okay, he's missed. The hitter before me, he's thrown 2 pitches, changeups, misses to walk him. Now he throws me a curveball and a changeup. 4 straight secondary pitches, not close. I'm 2-0, bases loaded. I am sitting on a heater.
I mean, it has to be a fastball, right? And he missed with it, and now it's 3-0.
So it's almost like, Gary, if you want to get a, and I don't want to overthink this, but to me, you want to get a pitcher in a rhythm. If he's missing with his secondary pitches, then it's going to affect it's going to affect his whole repertoire. It's going to bleed over into his fastball.
Well, now he's really up against it. 3-0 with the bases loaded. And Parra draws a walk to force in a run to tie the game. How about that?
And
Noah Syndergaard, who had walked 6 batters total in his first 7 starts, has walked 4 batters in 2 innings plus today. And it's a 2-2 game.
To me right now, if I'm a catcher, I'm going to go out to the mound and say, hey, air it out. Go after these guys with your fastball.
Well, he's got a fastball hitter at the plate in Trevor Story, who grounded out his first time up. Story was very vulnerable to breaking stuff and strikes out a lot, with a chance to get the Rockies the lead. Dahl now at third, Arenado at second, and Parra at first. Still nobody out. And Story fouls off the first pitch fastball. Well, Syndergaard has walked as many as 5 in a game, but that's his career walk rate. He's at 1.3 this year, 1.85 for his career. But 4 walks in 2 innings plus today. He is just not at his sharpest by any means. Two hits and 2 walks in this inning have produced a run. And now Story goes after a slider and misses, and it's 0-2. Appears to be Story's big vulnerability.
He strikes out more than a ton.
Also hits a lot of home runs. Hit more home runs in his first 250 games than any shortstop in history. Syndergaard's only struck out 1 so far. He could certainly use 1 here. Story laid off that one. 1-2.
He's basically staying away a lot, Gary, not pitching to the right-handers. Oh well, I'm not going to sit here and do a critique.
It just feels as though he has a lack of faith in his fastball. Which is an amazing thing for a guy who throws 98 miles an hour.
I think it's a whole pitching philosophy. Ooh, just missed.
Lobatone tried to frame it, but it's 2-2. Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire.
I think it missed. Boy, it takes some guts to take it, but it did miss.
G Pitchcast says ball. .21 pitches in the inning for Syndergaard, and still nobody out. 2-2 coming to Story. And he struck him out. Went away with a slider to get him for the first out of the inning. Second strikeout of the day for Noah.
Well, you just can't. I know it happens. You strike out. Some guys just don't know how to do it. Get a runner in. Easy RBI.
Now Desmond, who crunched a home run his first time up. His 5th home run of the year. It's been a slog for Desmond, but he's had a pretty decent series here. Double homer, couple of RBIs in the 3 games. Bases loaded, 1 out. And a fastball in for a strike. Here's Desmond, his first time up.
Got a fastball. And it ran in, and he still turned on it. Now, you don't know if Desmond was looking inside, Garrett. That's the thing that the hit pitcher doesn't know. Noah goes, gosh, that's my best fastball. And I ran it in on him, and he turned on it, hit it out of the ballpark.
Well, we used to see a lot of that from Desmond when he played for the Nats. Half swing. Did he go? He did. First base umpire Chad Fairchild with a call, and now it's 0-2.
Got a pitcher on the ropes here. Did he swing? That can go either way. I know you probably you and Ronnie would say yes. I would borderline.
It's quite a concession on your part.
Don't call it on me.
Nobody's calling anything on you anymore. Syndergaard after a strikeout of Story ahead on Desmond 0-2. Chopper could be 2. Cabrera on the bag, on to first, double play, side retired. Just what the doctor ordered for Noah Syndergaard. A run in on a bases loaded walk, but then he gets a strikeout and a double play to keep it tied.
Tied at 2, and as we do every Sunday here on SNY Telecast, it's time for another edition of Hashtag Ask Elbs, and today's edition is really more of a Hashtag Ask Gare. As a fan on Twitter, Ryan wanted to know the inspiration behind your, of course, fantastic home run call of "It's Out of Here," considering that this is the 30th year anniversary this past Friday of your first ever Mets game. I figured now it was as good a time as any to ask Gary that question.
I wish I had a better answer for you, Steve. The answer is that it really happened organically. When I was broadcasting in the minor leagues, I messed around with some, signature type home run calls, and they all sounded awful and forced. So when I got to the major leagues, I decided I was not using any of those, and I would just describe what I saw. I remember I was on the radio, wasn't on TV, and so following the outfielder and the progress of the outfielder, the progress of the ball, guy goes back and it's out of here. And that was it, and it was not premeditated, and it just kind of came out that way.
You say it with emotion,
gusto.
Too. Yes.
Well, it's a job, Keith. You express yourself with emotion too
of course,
when the occasion is appropriate.
Gary, can you share one of the close but not quite in the minor leagues?
No chance of that ever happening. Find a tape and I'll deny it's me.
So I grew up with Lon Simmons and Russ Hodges.
Bye Bye Baby.
Bye Bye Baby by Russ Hodges, and Lon Simmons would say you can tell it goodbye.
Gary, what about your call when the game is over, the ball game is over?
That's only been in the recent years that I've done that. So, stuff evolves over time. You like how it sounds, you keep doing it, try not to wear it out. Nemo strikes out to start the inning. Now as Drupal Cabrera takes a strike. Cabrera drove in a run his first time up with a base hit. Sorry, Steve. Next time I'll find a more creative answer for one of your questions.
I appreciate that, Gary. Just do better next time, okay?
Are you warm?
Am I warm?
Yes.
Yeah, I dressed for the occasion. This SNY polo or jacket out here is pretty good.
Steve, I'd like you to have a good time in Cincinnati. Try and keep Keith out of trouble, okay?
Keith, you look like you have a tip on a snowstorm coming.
It's actually fairly thin. It's not a real. It's not a real thick one. It's kind of thin. It's perfect. I look like I got a shrunken head on this thing, though.
It looks like a very warm jacket, but I think you've taken out the inner shell, which makes it a little bit of a lighter feel.
I look like that guy in Beetlejuice in that last scene in the end when they were in the waiting room. I bet there's a lot of young viewers out there that never saw Beetlejuice.
Go watch it. It's worth it.
I thought it was great.
Michael Keaton, Gina Davis.
The husband, come on, lives out Saturday Night Live. My gosh, he lives out in the Hamptons. I should know better. Alec Baldwin, for crying out loud. Yes.
On the outside corner, Cabrera caught looking. Freeland with the backdoor slider to get him. Back-to-back strikeouts for the Rockies lefty.
I'm getting used to this Frank Sinatra song that Todd has, because it's almost, you always hear Frank at the end of a game at Yankee Stadium, and you know, when the game's over, you have, you know, New York, New York.
It's more of a, I don't know. It's a room-filling song. This is a more mellow.
It's one of Frank's classics. I love when he sang "When I Was 17." Frank, that was.
It was a very good year.
I had my music on the other day, and I had it on shuffle, and that song came up out of the blue. I hadn't heard it in years.
It's very wistful.
It's sad.
Yeah. Frazier had a sacrifice fly to right his first time up, and he dunks this one to the left center. Coming on is Parra to make the catch. And that retires the side. 1-2-3 for Kyle Freeland, his first of the day. Parra on his birthday making the grab. After 3, tied at 2. Fourth inning, Daniel Castro leads off against Noah Syndergaard. Castro grounded out his first time up, filling in at second base. DJ LeMahieu should be back off the disabled list shortly for the Rockies. We saw him out on the field turning double plays earlier today, trying to come back from a hamstring injury. boy, their lineup really lengthens when LeMahieu's in there, former batting champ.
He's one of the hitters we were talking earlier before the game where you get a reverse shift.
Past the mound and up the middle, and Castro's got a base hit. So the second straight inning, the Rockies have had a leadoff hit against Syndergaard.
Castro got a similar hit, a 2 RBI hit in that 5-run first inning off of Wheeler on a breaking ball just like that, and a one hand and hitting a ground ball up the middle.
So now Tony Walters, who walked his first time up. Walters homered in the opening game of the series, snapping a 318 at-bat drought without a home run. A Spectrum high-speed pitch. Syndergaard's going to win all those battles.
Yes.
Hardest throwing starter in the majors. Trying to slow down the running game. Syndergaard dealt with a bases loaded situation in the third inning. In his career, he's been awfully good with the bases loaded. He's never given up a grand slam in his career, and until last inning he had never issued a bases loaded walk in his career, but he did walk Parra to force in the tying run. Then he got a strikeout and a double play to limit any further damage. Is it Jim Palmer who never gave up a grand slam in his career? Am I right about that? It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
A guy can go, you know, pitch for 15 years and not allow a grand slam.
And give up an opposite field grand slam to a 20-year-old kid in spring training.
Which kid might that have been?
Might have been me. Whoa!
The bat goes flying off the facing of the dugout. It almost hit Glenn Sherlock on the carom.
It did.
Did it get him?
I think. Holy cow! It almost got him.
Now, he didn't flinch when it sailed by him, and then it came back off the facing, and either it got him or it came close.
I think it did hit him.
Thought he was out of the woods, and then it came back and got him.
Lucky it got him in the shoulder.
Wow.
It didn't get him on the coconut.
He's an old catcher. He's taking his share of hits. Nice to see Glenn's okay. 1-1 to Walters. Has the bat in his hands. No more pine tar. Maybe he could use some. Syndergaard just misses. 2-1. Pitcher Freeland is on deck. Castro at first and nobody out, and Walters fouls off the fastball. 2-2. Walters lifts one out to left, and Nimmo is there. Back to first goes Castro, 1 out. And the pitcher Freeland will come up. So it's been a disabling day for some stars around the National League. You know about Jacob deGrom going on the DL with elbow tendonitis. Should just be a one-week affair. Clayton Kershaw went on the disabled list today for the Dodgers with biceps tendonitis. And then the worst news came from St. Louis, where Yadier Molina underwent emergency surgery late last night for what they're calling traumatic pelvic hematoma. That throw gets loose, and Castro will move up, chased down by Flores. So an errant pickoff throw moves the runner up.
Yeah, that's an E1 right there. But back to Molina, my goodness.
Well, I mean, just the words traumatic pelvic hematoma make you cringe. But if you saw the play he got hurt on yesterday, you understand. He must have been in tremendous pain, and they thought he was out of the woods, but in the middle of the night they decided they had to operate, and Molina's going to be out at least a month. Freeland trying to get a bunt down and fouls it off. It's an odd place to bunt with a runner at second and 1 out.
I agree. Swing the bat. You might get a dork somewhere and drive him in. Very shallow outfield. Shaded to the opposite field.
Freeland's 1 for 12 at the plate this year. Grounded into a fielder's choice his first time. He's swinging this time and fouls it off 0-2. We're working at a snail's pace today. Trying to put away the opposing pitcher. And Freeland takes the curveball for strike 3 call. 2 out. Get to Citi Field for Free Shirt Friday, May 18th. The Mets take on the Diamondbacks. All fans in attendance will receive a Mets Pizza Man t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
Courtesy of Coca-Cola.
I want one.
Purchase tickets at Mets.com/tickets. You want the shirt or the pizza?
I want the shirt.
I'm sure we can get you one. There's Blackman with 2 out and a runner at second. And a base hit and scored the tying run in the third. Fastball pops the inside corner, 0-1. Blackman second in the National League with 11 home runs. Only Bryce Harper's hit more. And time asked for. Bryce finally got blanked in the leadoff spot yesterday by Vince Velasquez and the Phillies, but that's been a positive move for the Nats, who had won 6 in a row. So you got Harper hitting leadoff for Washington, who can hit 40 home runs. You got Blackman hitting leadoff for Colorado. He can hit 40 home runs.
Didn't Joe Madden hit Rizzo in the leadoff spot?
He did. He did that last year against the Mets, and he hit a home run his first time up, and he did it again this year, his first time up out of the leadoff spot. Lineup construction is changing. It has changed. Everybody wants to bunch all their best hitters at the top now, get them more at bats than ever, and that seems to make sense. 0-2 from Syndergaard. And Blackman flies one out to right. Bruce back a couple of strides. And that retires the side. Leadoff hit and a throwing error, but Syndergaard works around it. Tough inning for Glenn Sherlock. Watch out for flying bats. Oof. Not a nice way to spend a Sunday. Wilmer Flores leads off the bottom of the 4th inning against Kyle Freeland. Wilmer popped up his first time up. That's got both their runs in the 1st inning against Freeland, who has settled in nicely. Retired the side in order in the 3rd. And the backdoor breaking ball misses, and it's 2-0. Jay Bruce on deck, then Jose Lobaton for the Mets in the 4th. Fastball inside. Freeland for a rare time today behind on the count. He hasn't walked a batter. Struck out 3. 24 years old, Denver native. And he pops a strike, 3-1. And Wilmer takes outside ball 4, and the Mets have a leadoff base runner. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs, who's standing by with the Mets legend.
Yeah, Gary, Ron Swoboda, one of my favorite guys to find here and talk to at the ballpark. He's here actually because the Mets fantasy camp crew is out here today. We'll get to that in a second, but first, the fact that 1969, Ron, is now 1 year away from being the 50th anniversary, is that something that blows your mind? Do you feel like it's been that long?
You know, they say that when time flies when you're having fun. I must be having fun because it's flown. I don't know how I got 50 years down the road from that point.
Do you sit back at times still just reminisce about what that season was? And is there any, I mean, everybody talks about your catch, obviously, but is there any one moment that stands out to you about that team in that season?
It was so many. You know, I'm actually writing the memoir, so a lot of these things are familiar to me. I think the point where we won 11 in a row and they made the Don Clendenin deal. And that made us a different team right off the get-go. With all that pitching, they put some sock in there. That's when we started going. That's when we started playing much better baseball offensively and realized we could play with the rest of the league. Once you do that, magic happens.
Magic does happen, and the Mets have something working right here, by the way. 1st and 2nd as the pitcher just missed the bag there, Freeland. So 1st and 2nd, nobody out for the Mets. I'd be remiss while we have you here and we're talking about 1969 if I didn't ask you about Ed Charles, who obviously it's such a sad thing the Mets lost him recently. For you, what is your memory of Ed Charles? What do you remember him as?
You know, we hung out on the road. We were, you know, Eddie would, you know, he'd come up to his room, we'd hang out and talk about things in general. And Eddie was a huge help to the younger players. We really, you know, that 1969 year was really an important time for him because, you know, he had been in the big leagues, took him a long time to get there. And for him to be able to play on a team that won it all, and he was such a big part of it, and he made himself a part of it. But his personality was so sweet and genuine. Hard to find a guy better.
Well, we have to change what I just said, Ron, because after review, it turns out that Freeland did actually touch that base, so Jay Bruce is out. So the Mets have a runner on second, now 1 out with Jose Lobaton at the plate.
Yes.
I did mention you are here, though, representing Mets Fantasy Camp. You have, what, 100, 200 participants here. It takes place 2 separate weeks in January in Port St. Lucie. For those who don't know what that experience is like, can you just give the fans a little bit of insight into that?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a bunch of guys that reclaim their youth. We go there, and all of us get together, and we try to make it as good an experience as we can. I throw my heart and soul in it just because I can't get near a baseball diamond without emotion coming out. And really, Doug Dickey makes this as, you know, it runs as well as it can be run. So these guys come here, and these games start meaning something, and these guys start bonding up, and these teams start getting together. And all of a sudden, as you're working towards the championship game, and it's only a week, it has this incredible emotion and incredible bonding. It's cool.
Ron, you mentioned the word emotion multiple times there. Have you thought about how emotional next year is going to be and what type of celebration you do expect for the 50th anniversary of the 69 team?
Well, I mean, we just talked about Ed Charles, and there's guys from my team that aren't with us anymore. So the ones of us that are still kicking, I think are going to have a real special feeling because we're not going to do the 100th, So, you know, this is going to be the last big celebration of 1969. And it's always a treat when we're together, all of us. We feel like, you know, members of a small, exclusive club that saw our dreams come true one time long ago.
Ron, we so look forward to next year and reliving that with you guys, and I so appreciate you spending some time. Always so great to catch up with you.
Hey, go Mets. I'm a fan. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Ron Swoboda, the legend. Mets Fantasy Camp, by the way, still open for the second week next year, so log on to Mets.com and see if you can register. Guys.
All right, Steve, always great to hear from the guy known as Rocky, Ron Swoboda. Just a huge part of Mets lore. And, you know, people talk about the catch in the World Series Game 4, and of course it was maybe the greatest catch in World Series history. But I go back to what happened on September 15th that year when Steve Carlton set the Major League record by striking out 19 against the Mets. Swoboda was 2 of those strikeouts, but he also had 2 two-run homers in that game, and the Mets won. They beat Carlton the day he struck out 19.
What was the trade for Clendenin? Who were the Mets? Who did the Mets give up here? I forgot.
Gosh, I am not sure. I'm gonna have to go back and look. Lobaton strikes out, and that's the 4th strikeout for Freeland.
Now, Clendenin came over from Montreal, correct?
Well, right, because he had refused to report. He had been traded earlier that year, and there's a whole snafu there. So. Mets got him at the trading deadline that year. Kevin Collins and Steve Rinko.
Oh, Steve Rinko had a good career. Steve Rinko was a big, tall right-hander, heavy fastball, big curve, and a sinker, hard sinker.
Clendenin was traded by the Expos to the Astros, but he refused to report. And so they had to redo that deal, and then finally the Expos dealt him away in June, and that's how the Mets got him. That was the deal for Rusty, actually, that he was supposed to go in.
When did Kurt Flood refuse to report?
That
what year was that? Was that
69?
Around the same time.
Yeah. Right. He had been traded from the Cardinals to the Phillies, and he didn't want to go.
Correct. It's funny how general managers trade with the same organizations a lot, whether it's there's a strike 3 on Syndergaard, Freeland gets out of it. Because Bill White was traded to the Phillies.
Well, there he is, Ron Swoboda. Came up through the Mets farm system as a big slugger, hit 19 home runs as a rookie. Rocky, one of the best. Saturday night, May 19th, when the Mets take on the Diamondbacks. The first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Star Wars night Mr. Met as Han Solo bobblehead, courtesy of Citi. Purchase tickets at Mets.com/tickets. Verizon trivia question: Albert Pujols got his 3,000th hit Friday. Against which pitcher does he have the most hits? Well, there is that's a classic baseball card. Ed Kranepool and Juan Swoboda. Two of the developing stars. What year is this from? Because Swoboda came up in '65. Of course, Kranepool was signed in '62 and made his debut that year, but didn't come up for good until '64.
It says in '65 so it's '66 card.
Right. 19 home runs as a rookie. The Mets thought he was the slugger that they always failed to develop. And, you know, Ron had a nice career, but it wasn't really till Darryl Strawberry that the Mets ever developed a slugger out of their own farm system. By the way, speaking of Darryl, today is the 35th anniversary of his major league debut. It was against the Reds and Mario Soto, who struck him out 3 times that day. But Darryl drew a walk in the 10th inning, which led to the winning run, and the Mets won the game.
And I do believe in '84 we opened up in Cincinnati.
Dahl drives one to right center, cutting across Lagares, and he can't make the catch. It's off his glove, and Dahl into second base. Well, Lagares streaking across the outfield, got there, but was not able to squeeze it.
Oh, he makes this play 99 out of 100 times when he gets there. Look what happened. Oh, he just overran it.
Wow.
That never happens.
Well, we've seen a couple of plays now this season that we are accustomed to seeing Juan make that he has not made. And that one was fairly stunning because, as generally is the case, he made up a ton of ground to get there. But the ball hit off the thumb of his glove. It's a double for Dahl, and here's Arenado. And he grounds one foul.
Arenado's mad at himself because, oh, he might have got hurt.
No attention from the Rockies dugout, but he definitely appears as though there's something up with his left leg.
He got hit. He got hit with the foul ball, but he's a tough guy. He's mad at himself because he's chasing. Oh yes,
fouled off his knee.
And that he's chasing that fastball running in and sinking in off the plate.
Well, Syndergaard feels like he has pitched this entire game out of the stretch. It's the 3rd straight inning that the Rockies have had a leadoff hit. 5 hits now in all against Noah, and the go-ahead run at second with nobody out. Runs that sinker inside, and it's 2-1. Well, through 4 innings, that had been his pitch usage, the 2-seamer or sinker more than the 4-seam fastball.
I would like to see that reversed. The 4-seamer 27, even more in the 30s, low 30s, and the sinker around 14 times. You got a freight train, run it. Oh boy.
Nasty slider, and he gets even on Arenado. 2-2.
Got to try to get this guy over now. I know you're an RBI guy, but now you got 2 strikes. You got to bear down here. 2-2 ball game, 5th.
Two and 2 to Arenado. Got a piece of it. Certainly was not trying to get it to the right side.
No, he's taking a rip.
Lays off the curveball, 3-2. Arenado's walked in each of his first 2 plate appearances today. 2 of the 4 walks that Syndergaard has issued. For Noah, just 1 shy of a career high for walks in a game. Three-two. Grounded to the left side. Rosario holds the runner, gets Arenado for the first out. So Arenado had no intention of hitting that ball to the right side. So that go-ahead run remains at second with 1 out. And now Gerardo Parra, who drew the bases-loaded walk that forced in the tying run in the 3rd. The first bases-loaded walk of Syndergaard's career. And for Parra, it came on his 31st birthday. It's a gift. Rosario playing right behind the runner, Dahl at second.
Nice block.
Knocked down by Lobaton, breaking for third. Dahl, and he's out. Lobaton got the throw there. Frazier with the tag, and Dahl is out at third for the second out, trying to advance on the ball in the dirt.
Really nice play by Lobaton. Number 1, the block, and then the recovery. Let's see if he got his foot in there first. No, oh, he blocked him. Well done.
Frazier getting that foot right between Dahl's foot and the bag. No chance for him to get there.
Nice play by Lobaton.
So a dirt ball read gone awry for Dahl, and there are 2 out and nobody on. And Parra slams one into right center for a base hit. It'll go all the way back to the wall. Parra with a 2-out double, and that makes that out at third look enormous.
Yes, it does.
Second double of the inning for the Rockies.
Ball out over the plate.
So Syndergaard will go right back to pitching out of the stretch. There's Dribble Cabrera giving Gerardo Parra a happy birthday tap. His countryman. His Story was grounded out and struck out 0 for 2.
Story does not like the wrinkle.
And he hits one out to right center. Back in the gap goes Bruce. He gets there, and that retires the side. That survived some misadventures in that 5th inning. A pair of doubles, but the Rockies do not score halfway through, tied at 2. Ahmed Rosario leading off the home 5th inning for New York in a 2-2 game. Rosario fouled out his first time up. Kyle Freeland's allowed just 1 hit since the 1st inning when the Mets got both their runs. And he dropped the changeup blowing away 1-1. Rosario, then Lagares and Nimmo for the Mets in the 5th.
He likes that backdoor slider to the right-handers. Freeland, he just been kind of bending it around the corner. He's just missing.
Fastball for a strike, 2-2. Kyle Freeland, born 39 days after the Rockies played their first ever game in 1993. Born in Denver. Big Rockies fan growing up, as you might expect.
Lake Street Bombers.
Idolized Larry Walker and Todd Helton.
He liked the hitters.
Yes, he did. That's what the Rockies were all about. That's changing. Their pitching is developing into a solid piece of their team, and their starting pitching has been outstanding lately. And Rosario just got a piece to stay on the at bat.
Interesting how Freeland in his you look at their rotation here.
Chad Bettis was great yesterday. Ron Marquez was good on Friday.
Marquez has a good arm. Freeland gets to the, when he gets his leg kick, watch him hesitate right here. Interesting.
It's a little like Kershaw. Kershaw kind of drops the leg and then hesitates. He has the leg up. He actually was trying to iron that out of his motion, but he has not completely taken it out.
Kind of like does a balancing act there, you know.
Eighth pitch of the at bat coming to Rosario, and he lays off that backdoor slider again. Now it's 3-2. Well, Rosario's had 2 at bats today, and he's run full counts in both of them. And this time he flies one out to center field. Blackman going back, has room. 1 out.
Blackman kind of scampers out there, doesn't he? He doesn't glide under the ball. He's a guy that gets to it quick. He hustles back to get under it as quickly as possible. Well, here's the motion, and from a hitter's point of view, the hesitation right here. And that should not have any effect on the hitter, because you get used to it. You get used to the cadence. That is like a cadence.
Lagares is 1 for 2 at a base hit in the first, scored a run, grounded out in the second. And he pops this one up on the infield. And Story takes charge of it. 2 out. So Freeland rolling right along. He's now retired 11 of the last 12 hitters. And here's Brandon Nimmo up for the second time. Nimmo came in the game in the second inning. Yoenis Cespedes singled and scored a run in the first, and experienced tightness in his right hip and came out of the game. Nimmo struck out in his only at bat in the third. And he takes the fastball down for ball 1. Brandon started the first 2 games of this series.
Well, I guess if you're wondering why Nimmo's in the game, Cespedes left the game. If you just tuned in, shame on you.
Somebody just tuned in.
Did I repeat you again? I was talking to my producer, and I were talking about Blackman when you were yapping about how he gets back on balls. It's hard to listen to 2 conversations. We were marveling at how Blackman, how he's the only one I've seen that really runs back to the ball where he thinks it's going to land. He gets there quick and camps.
Nemo grounds one just foul.
So shame on me too, Garrett, because I wasn't tuned in to you.
You know, there might have been somebody who tuned in between the time that I mentioned it and the time that you mentioned it, and now they're better served. You know how on the all news stations they do the traffic and weather every 10 minutes?
Yes.
Well, never hurts to repeat the information. Nemo strikes out on the sinker, and that ends the inning. 6 strikeouts for Freeland. And again, Rockies starting pitching has been outstanding. And after 5, we're tied at 2. Sixth inning, and Desmond leading off against Noah Syndergaard. Desmond took Syndergaard deep in the second inning, but Noah got him to bounce into a bases loaded double play to end the third. Ball a strike to Desmond with Castro and Walters to follow. 6, 7, and 8 in the order, and Syndergaard could use himself a clean inning. He's over 80 pitches now. Jerry Blevins on call in the bullpen. One-two coming to Desmond, and it's outside. 2-2. Noah struck out only 3 in 6 innings in his last start against Atlanta. He has struck out only 3 over the first 5 innings today. For the year, he's just under 11 strikeouts per 9, but that number is coming down. And he gets a half swing and a miss. Desmond down on strikes, and that's the 4th of the day for Syndergaard. Let's check in with the studio. Gary Apple has a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealer. All right, Gary, Giants have been hot. They've won 3 in a row, 10 of their last 13, cooling off the Braves, who were red hot when they left here. Spy.
Aye, aye. Ahoy there, matey.
Don't call it a spyglass for nothing. 1-1 to Castro, who's 1 for 2 today. Single to center his last time up. That's the first time in the last 4 innings that Syndergaard's been able to retire the leadoff batter. It takes a little bit of stress down. And Castrowitz a slow roller. Frazier cuts it off. 2 out. Get all the reactions, comments, and opinions from today's game on Mets blog presented by Citi. Two out and nobody on. Now Tony Walters, and Syndergaard has a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning of the afternoon. Walters has walked and flied out 0 for 1. And he takes a curveball for a strike. Noah about to throw his 90th pitch of the afternoon. And more activity in the Mets bullpen, which makes you think this is going to be the last go around for Syndergaard. He certainly has not been dominant today, but he's kept the Mets in the game. And he busts Walters inside, and he's hit by the pitch. And Walters goes to first base with 2 out. Third batter Syndergaard's hit this year.
Grazed finger.
Gets a look from Tony Diaz, the first base coach, but Walters appears to be okay. Eric Cooper's walking off toward the Mets dugout. Wants to see if Mickey Callaway wants to challenge that call, but clearly Walters was hit, and the Mets will not challenge. And now Freeland will come to bat. So Syndergaard unable to rack up that elusive 1-2-3 inning. Freeland today 0 for 2. He's into a forced play and taking a call third strike. There goes the runner. The throw by Lobaton is too late, and Walters steals a base. His first of the year.
Geez, with the pitcher up.
It is a little odd.
Everything upside. Well, not everything. A lot of things upside down in the game today. And you see Lobaton got his tangled up in his feet there. It's got spike caught.
The one thing I would say about that is if Walters gets caught and the pitcher spot leads off the next inning, it's probably going to be a pinch hitter because Freeland's probably only going to go one more inning.
You think he thought that far ahead?
I don't know, but at least from a strategic standpoint, it makes a little more sense.
Oh, base hit. Now he scores too.
Freeland 1 for 13 this year.
Oh, that's right out of Pete Rose and Lenny Dykstra.
I got him there. One-two coming. Got him looking. Side retired. 5 strikeouts for Syndergaard, so he gets through 6 with the game still tied at 2.
Of all the special events, Old Timers Day really brings on that nostalgic feeling. Joe DiMaggio, Willie Mays, Ralph Kiner, and so many greats of yesteryear grace Shea Stadium on a memorable day. Of course, the loyal Met fans keep the turnstile spinning on Helmet Day and Photo Album Day, Harry Lee Day, Banner Night, Family Day, and all the other big events too. But every date is special, and you never know what surprise might be in store, like a visit from soccer star Pele.
You know, in those Old Timers Day memories, got to see Willie Mays swing the bat, and today is Willie's birthday.
Happy birthday, Willie Mays.
87 years old today.
The greatest player I ever laid my eyes on.
I would concur. Home sixth inning as Dribble Cabrera leads off and goes after a first pitch slider and screws himself right into the ground. Cabrera delivered a RBI single in the first. Mets scored both their runs in the first against Kyle Freeland, who's been awfully good since. In fact, the Mets have only had one hit since that first inning. Cabrera struck out in the third, 1 for 2 on the day. Freeland has fanned 6 over the first 5 innings. And Cabrera flies one out to left field. Pretty well hit. Parra, though, back on the track at the wall. He makes the catch. Gerardo Parra, two-time Gold Glover, tracking that ball well for the first out.
Defense so important. Nice play.
We saw the Mets Gold Glover failed to make a catch earlier in the game, but the Rockies Gold Glove outfielder handles that with aplomb. 1 out and nobody on. Now Frazier, who had a sacrifice fly in the first, flied out in the third, 0 for 1, and takes that backdoor slider outside for ball 1. '24-year-old Kyle Freeland grew up in Denver. Went to the University of Evansville in Indiana to play college ball, but really burst on the scene in the Cape Cod League. Grounded into the shift. Trevor Story's right there, and there are 2 out. To answer our Verizon trivia question, I would think that the answer to this would have to be a National League Central pitcher,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
As Albert spent most of his career with the Cardinals. Royals, Walt.
Houston, Philly. All that long career and only 28 hits, but he went to the American League.
Wilmer Flores has popped up and walked today, 0 for 1.
It's interesting, you know, Gary, I got a list, a laundry list from the Elias Bear after I retired. They sent me every at bat I ever had off every pitcher, and at the top was the most at bats, and at the end was the least. And I was surprised after, 17 years, how little at bats I faced off of pitchers, and yet I was very familiar with them.
Wilmer pops one up into shallow center for Blackman, and Freeland's got himself another 1-2-3 inning. He's retired 9 in a row, so the Mets' offensive woes continuing. 2-2 going to the 7th. Noah Syndergaard done after 6 innings. Jerry Blevins will pitch for the Mets in the 7th.
It's been a rocky start for Jerry. He hasn't pitched a lot, and when he does pitch, he's trying to find his rhythm. He hasn't found his rhythm on his curveball, but he comes in, Gary, you know, he's got 16 games, 7 innings, 1 or 2 batters, and he's out. To me, it's very difficult to try to find your rhythm when you have that limited in your appearances.
Charlie Blackmon leads off against Blevins in the 7th. And a first pitch fastball in for a strike. Well, Blevins got a little bit of an extended outing his last time out against the Braves on Thursday. He faced 4 batters, retired them all, and Mickey Callaway hoping that'll get him pointed in the right direction.
Well, folks, it's a new era in baseball, and it's you got your ace on the staff on the mound in a 2-2 game through 6. And he's adios, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Syndergaard threw 95 pitches in 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, a hit batsman, and a home run. I would say in defense of the decision to take him out that he did not have an easy inning. Pitched under duress virtually all of those 6 innings.
95 pitches.
But not just that. I mean, men on base virtually constantly.
He's a big guy. He's Thor. And you know, it's not his fault. It's not his decision. That's a better way to put it. But you know, if I'm a kid growing up today, I wouldn't want to be a starting pitcher.
Did you once want to be a starting pitcher?
I started in Little League all the time.
But did you want to be a starting pitcher?
I like pitching because you know I was mowing them down, but you know I had success. But I wanted to hit. I wanted to. So when I pitched, I hit. You know, I didn't miss out.
But I guess for the kids growing up these days who are, you know, interested in being a pitcher, all they know is an era where starters go 100 pitches and then they're done. Yep. Curveball misses 2-2 to Blackmon with David Dahl on deck. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the New York Mets. We'll be heading to Cincinnati, which is right across the river from Kentucky. Yep. Bourbon country.
Ohio River over the right field fence.
Maybe you can have a mint julep or 2. Ooh. Just past Derby Day. Blackmon with a half swing. He went around strike 3.
That is terrible.
So Blevins is able to strike out Blackmon on that check swing.
Mike Estabrook, what did you see there that told you it was a swing?
So 1 out now. David Dahl, who's 2 for 3 today. A broken bat single in the 3rd. A drive to right center. They went off Lagares' glove for a double in the 5th. And the only time he was retired was on a line drive to the shortstop. Full shift on against Dahl. And the curveball off the plate, 2-0.
See, that's what Blevins hasn't been able to find the range. He's been missing with that breaking ball. And missing predominantly like that, Gary, wide around 2 feet to a foot to 2 feet and in the dirt.
Last year, even when he threw that curveball out of the strike zone, it was tempting enough that he got lots of swings and misses. That's not happening as much. And he comes up and in with the fastball, and it's 3-0. He got Nolan Arenado standing on deck, so this is likely Blevins' last batter. AJ Ramos getting ready for the right-hand hitter. Hit sign 3-0 today.
You could.
Bases are unloaded this time.
And he takes.
Well, after swinging on 3-0 when he wasn't supposed to last night, I'm sure he was not going to get the hit sign this time.
3-0 hit sign, you got to earn your stripes before you get the 3-0 hit sign.
And the curveball fouled off, and now it's 3-2. It's got to be so hard, I would think, as a left-hand hitter against that slow curveball to stay back long enough.
That's Jerry's game. It's a deceptive breaking ball. It's very much like Frank Viola's, although Viola's was more over the top.
3-2 coming, and he got in on him with the fastball. He pops one up for Flores in foul ground. 2 out. Nice recovery by Blevins after falling behind 3-0. So he gets his 2 men, and now A.J. Ramos is going to come in to face Nolan Arenado with 2 out and nobody on. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Somebody answer the phone. It's 2-2 in the 7th. We'll be right back. A.J. Ramos in to pitch to Nolan Arenado, and he moves him back with his first pitch fastball.
Well, there's Ramos's numbers. Too many walks. He's always been that kind of guy, a strikeout walk guy. Got good stuff. A new role for him.
He's done well against Arenado, who's just 1 for 8 against Ramos, and a good breaking ball to get even 1-1.
Well, he's got an outstanding breaking ball, and he loves to throw it.
That's playing. They're in their outfield very deep, no doubles. Gerardo Parra on deck. And Arenado takes one on the corner, changeup from Ramos, and it's 1-2.
Well, that's a pretty good spot right there. He's shaking his head going, doggone it. That's a tough one to hit.
2 out and nobody on. Ramos hasn't pitched since Wednesday, a 1-2-3 inning against Atlanta. Arenado lifts one foul. Ramos picking up for Blevins, who retired the 2 left-hand hitters to start the inning. One-two coming. Struck him out. Ramos with the cutter fans Arenado to end the inning. Nice job by the Mets bullpen. Blevins and Ramos combined to get the top of the order. 1-2-3. Stretch time. Still tied at 2.
Up for heroes, because no matter where you serve or when you served, we stand ready to serve all military families.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Empire City Casino. Current jackpot is now over $1 million. You could be the next big winner. Buy Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer or buyatoyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. And by Mattress Firm, where your budget stretches further. We talked a lot about Nolan Arenado in this series. 5-time Gold Glover. We thought we'd show you a little of that.
What would you call this? A little collage of terrific plays? All from this year. Look at the cold weather. Colorado was freezing, you can imagine, in April. Well, look at the beauty of this man in the field. He is absolutely phenomenal.
Not just the Gold Glove, but the Platinum Glove as the overall best fielder in the National League. Kyle Freeland will continue on into the 7th inning. He's retired 9 in a row. Jay Bruce leads off and takes a slider for a strike. Freeland's thrown 92 pitches. He's thrown as many as 101 in a game this year. We'll keep the bullpen busy behind him. Bruce is 0 for 2 today. Last time up, he banked one off Desmond's glove, and Castro was able to throw him out at first, a play where Jay was originally ruled safe, but they reviewed it and Freeland actually kicked the bag and they got the out.
Jay's out in front. He's not picking up Freeland at all. He's been out in front of the slider trying to pull it. I don't think he's really picking him up. Either that or he just feels uncomfortable at the plate. But don't hang one, because he'll lose it.
Seven strikeouts for Freeland as Bruce is retired. You know, the Mets have not had a home run by a left-hand batter against a left-hand pitcher this year. Last year, they had 21 of them, including 8 by Bruce himself. There's Hansel Robles, who just rejoined the team this weekend with the DFA of Matt Harvey. Here's Jose Lobaton, who's 1 for 2. If you missed the news earlier, Jacob deGrom is on the disabled list, and the Mets are calling up lefty P.J. Conlon He will start for the Mets tomorrow night in Cincinnati, his major league debut. And Jake is expected to pitch next Sunday in Philadelphia. It's a 10-day disabled list, but they can backdate him 3 days to his last start, and that's why he can come back a week from now. Two 2-0 to Lobaton, and that backdoor slider on the corner, 2-1. P.J. Conlon, by the way, an historical note, born in Belfast, Northern Ireland, will be the first Irish-born player in the major league since 1945. Only spent 2 years there before he moved to California, but still, it's a nice note. That's dribbled to the right side. To his left goes Castro, and he throws out Lobaton 2 out, and Freeland just keeps on rolling. That's 11 in a row. He's retired. Now Michael Conforto will come up as a pinch hitter, batting for A.J. Ramos. It has been a very rough stretch for Michael, sitting for the second straight day today. Hitless in his last 12 at bats, culminating in an 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts on Friday night. And he takes a fastball for a strike, 0-1. 100 pitches for Freeland. And he pops the fastball for a strike. Quickly it's 0-2, and they all just keep on pitching Conforto inside.
Not now. Freeland's got nice stuff for a left-hander. He pitches right-handers in enough. Got a good little changeup. Got a hard slider.
One-two coming, and he struck him out. Side retired. 12 in a row retired by Kyle Freeland. He struck out 8. 2-2 going to the 8th. As he strikes out as a pinch hitter.
Well, he's been under everything we've been noting, and here's the strikeout pitch. He's behind it. Now here's Friday night in his 0 for 5, where he had a tough 8 of his 9 swings underneath. You can see, and this is just one night that I've been observing. This has been going on for quite some time, and this is the root of his woes right now, that he has to get on top of the ball. When you're under, there's Hansel Robles' numbers, you have to make to me, whenever I was under a ball, I overcompensated to get on top of the ball to find the range, and then you'll find that middle range, that middle ground, where you'll start making solid contact. I know that Michael's it's definitely working on it, but he's got to correct that, because this has been the pathology now for quite a while.
Gerardo Parra will lead off against Hansel Robles, who's making his first big league appearance since April the 16th. Sent down to Vegas, where he made 5 appearances and now back. Parra, a bases loaded walk and a double to right center. He's 1 for 2 on the day. Story and Desmond to follow in the 8th in a 2-2 game. That's got a 1-2-3 inning out of Blevins and Ramos in the 7th, and now Robles picking up in the 8th. And Parra takes a fastball for a strike. It was a rocky road early this year for Robles. Gave up 3 home runs in just 8 innings of work before he was sent down. And that's been the issue with Hansel going back to last year. This one toward the middle. Rosario can't make the sliding stop. Parra takes the hard turn, going to try for 2. Lagares is throwing a hop and beats him, but he's safe. And the Mets are going to ask for a challenge here. The ball got there in plenty of time as Lagares hustled in to field it and got it to Rosario. Well, second base umpire Bruce Dreckman called him safe. Tried the old okey doke.
Oh, he's out.
Got him on the chest, it looked like. And the Mets are going to challenge and probably win this one.
This is the 3rd base running blunder in this series by Colorado. And all 3 of them trying to take an extra base.
Fans are seeing the replay on the scoreboard, and it's fairly obvious that Parra is out. Rosario got the tag on the chest before the hand hit the base.
I don't know what Parra was thinking.
And they quickly overturned the call and call him out. That's one of the shortest reviews we've had this year. So it's a single for Parra, then 8-6. He is retired. Parra and Cabrera, old buddies from Venezuela, messing with each other. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Trevor Story takes a big cut. Story is 0 for 3. Grounded out, struck out, flied out. Ian Desmond, who homered back in the 2nd inning, waiting on deck. And slider upstairs, 2-1. Noah Syndergaard went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, 6 hits, walked a season high 4 batters, struck out 5. Jerry Blevins retired his 2 hitters, and A.J. Ramos his 1, and now Robles pitching the 8th. Slider for a strike, 2-2. Story 1 for 11 in this series, but always a dangerous hitter. And he takes a fastball right down the middle for strike 3 call. 98 got him looking, 2 out. Watch SNY Mets games on the go on any device with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Now Desmond, who homered back in the 2nd, since then has grounded into a double play and struck out 1 for 3. And he hits one in the air to deep right center. Back goes Lagares to the warning track. Back at the wall. It's out of here. Ian Desmond with his 2nd home run of the game. This time goes the other way, and he puts the Rockies in front 3-2 in the 8th. And the home run bug bites Hansel Robles yet again.
Wow. Opposite field. And I said, what the heck was the Desmond doing in the lineup today? with Syndergaard out there, and he turns out right down the pipe fastball. Lagares runs out of room.
Fourth career multiple home run game for Desmond. And now the Mets, who have lost all 5 games on this homestand, find themselves behind in the late innings again.
Full extension and going the other way. Got under it, but had carry.
Castro fouls one off his foot. Well, things have been going miserably for Ian Desmond really since he arrived in Colorado last year. But he's having himself a day. His 6th home run of the year, his 2nd of the afternoon, has put the Rockies in front for the first time. Frazier handles the ground ball from Castro, and that retires the side, but not before Desmond takes Robles deep. We go to the bottom of the 8th at Citi Field, 3-2 Colorado. Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. We mentioned Clayton Kershaw goes on the disabled list with biceps tendonitis. Max Scherzer dominant today, 15 strikeouts, but the Nats in a duel with Philadelphia. And James Shields, who pitched great in his last start, is pitching well again today. He's got a no-hitter going through 6. Today, in the Bronx, Domingo Germán in his first big league start through 6 hitless innings for the Yankees against the Indians. Brian Shaw in to pitch to Ahmed Rosario, and he misses low and away for ball 1.
Shaw picked up to bolster this bullpen from Cleveland. Slider ball master.
Worked a scoreless inning in the first game of the series, gave up a hit and a walk. Rosario today is 0 for 2, fouled out and flied out. Shaw's a workhorse. He's led the American League in appearances 3 of the last 4 years, and he leads the National League in appearances. This is his 19th appearance already. This is the Rockies' 35th game.
That's a lot of sliders.
Two and 2 to Rosario with Lagares and Nimmo to follow in the 8th. Oh, another fine outing by a Rocky starter as Jerry's Familia gets up in the Mets bullpen. Rosario takes the cutter high, and it's 3 and 2. The Rockies now in the last 11 games have a starter's ERA of 1.71, with Kyle Freeland having done that today. 7 innings, 2 runs. And Shaw starts his outing by striking out Rosario on the high cutter, 1 away. That is 13 Mets in a row who've been retired. And there have been a lot of stretches like that on this homestand.
One after the high one.
Now Lagares is 1 for 3, singled to lead off the first inning and scored a run. Mets scored both their runs in the first. Got a leadoff single from Jose Lobaton in the second, and haven't had a hit since. Only 1 base runner since the second inning. That was a leadoff walk to Wilmer Flores in the fourth. And now 13 in a row retired since that. And Shaw misses away with a cutter, 1-1. Shaw does not throw a straight fastball. Cutters and sliders. That's it. And he throws that one past Lagares, 1-2. Tomorrow night, the Mets open their series at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Lefty P.J. Conlon makes his big league debut against Homer Bailey, and our coverage begins at 6:30 tomorrow night right here on SNY. And the slider gets Lagares for the second out, so back-to-back strikeouts for Shaw to start the bottom of the 8th. Brandon Nimmo coming up. Bud Black running out to the mound. He might want the lefty here. He's got Jake McGee ready. Shaw wants to stay in.
Wow, you got Reyes and Nito as the only guys on the right side. That'll probably be Reyes.
It's going to be McGee to come in to face Nimmo. We'll be right back to Citi Field. McGee.
Well, he had a rough outing in that 8-7 ball game, the first game of the series. He came in and faced 2 batters, gave up a double to Flores and an RBI single to Rosario, and was lifted.
Brandon Nimmo up for the 3rd time after taking over for Cespedes in left field. Cespedes left in the second inning with right hip tightness, and Nimmo struck out both at bats against the lefty Freeland. So Bud Black liked the look of that and brings in the lefty to face Nimmo, and Brandon takes a curveball for a strike. Mets offense on this homestand, 11 runs in 6 games and a 193 team batting average.
Boy, if this game remains 3-2, do you use Wade Davis 3 days in a row?
I can't imagine he's running back out there, especially 29 pitches the first day. He had an easier time of it yesterday, threw only 13 pitches.
You have to go to Ottavino, I would think.
fastball just missed. 2-1 to Nimmo. If he can get aboard, as Drupal Cabrera would be next.
Just remember too that top of the third inning, bases loaded, nobody out, 1 run in, and the Rockies did not score. That game could have been over in that inning.
They've had some base running misadventures too.
Syndergaard pitched beautifully out of that jam.
And they had Dahl thrown out at third, trying to advance on a wild pitch. They had Parra thrown out at second on a single where he was out by a mile. So they could have had a lot more than 3. Check swing. Did he go? He did not. Third base umpire Mike Esterbrook says he held, and it's 3-2.
You got no one up in that Rocky bullpen, so if he loses Nimmo, Cabrera, the red hot Cabrera, comes to bat.
3-2 coming, and he walked him. And I know it sounds like we're saying this in retrospect, but we were talking about it on the break. I was shocked they took Brian Shaw out of the game. He dominated the 2 batters he faced.
I agree. I don't understand. And now you got Cabrera from the right side. Doesn't matter which side of the plate he bats from. A solid 300 from each side.
He has an RBI single today, and last time up he was robbed of an extra base hit on a fine play by Parra at the left field fence.
McGee goosed that last 3-2 pitch. It's a little Archie Bell there.
So the Mets have the tying run at first with Nimmo. And Cabrera takes inside, ball 1. And Tony Walter's going to go out to talk to McGee, who's now faced 3 batters in this series and still has not retired any of them.
And nobody up. You have got to get this final out in the 8th, young man.
There are 3 guys in that Rockies bullpen who have not been used in this series, including the veteran Mike Dunn.
It's a good matchup for. I know Dunn hasn't been used in this whole series. Surprised. I wonder if he's got some issues.
Cabrera pops one up into shallow right, and Dahl drifts over to retire the side. So McGee gets the out he needs to get, and we head to the 9th with the Rockies up 3-2. Colorado, and Hansel Robles, who gave up the go-ahead home run to Ian Desmond in the 8th, will stay on to start the 9th. Tony Walters is up, trying to bunt his way on, and fouls it off. Noel Cuevas is out on deck to pinch hit for the Rockies, and then Charlie Blackmon. Tonight on Geico Sports Night at 11 o'clock. All the highlights from today. Talk about Jacob deGrom, who went on the disabled list today, and all the basketball and hockey as well. Geico Sports Night tonight at 11, right here on SNY. Walters has been on base twice today, a walk and a hit by pitch, and he takes a slider high. Well, it is Adam Ottavino who's up in the Rockies bullpen, not Wade Davis. So after Davis saved the first 2 games of this series, Ottavino, who has been spectacular so far this year, the New York native, looks like he'll get the save chance. That just missed, and it's 3-1 to Walters. Here's Cuevas, who got the start yesterday in left field. He's on deck to pinch hit. Check it, it's Carlos Gonzalez. And there's ball 4 to Walters, and he's on base for the 3rd time today. Let's see what's coming up on WB Mason Postgame Live. Gary Apple, Todd Zeal, what you got, guys? So now it's Carlos Gonzalez to pinch hit. Cargo started the first 2 games of the series, went 0 for 6. Trying to put the hammer down here in the 9th against Robles, who was brought into a tie game in the 8th inning after 3 weeks of not pitching in the big leagues. Gave up the go-ahead home run in the 8th, and now has issued a leadoff walk in the 9th. And Cargo takes a strike, 0-1.
Boy, if I was Cargo, and I've seen him now for the last 2 years, and he's struggled, he just wants to pull, and he needs just to get, if he wants to do that, he better get closer to the plate. He's way off that plate.
I think we've seen that before. Robles talking to himself on the mound. And he struck him out with a high fastball. So 3 pitches, and Robles takes care of Carlos Gonzalez for the first out.
Another case, much like Conforto, Gonzalez just swinging under everything.
So now 1 out and 1 on, and Charlie Blackmon coming up. Blackmon 1 for 4 today, singled and scored back in the 3rd. That's here with Walters at first and 1 out. Walters has already stolen a base in this game. And the slider misses away, ball 1.
Is that a rock concert? Game's not over.
Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have Frazier, Flores, and Bruce coming up. Hoping it'll be a 1-run game if Robles can get the job done here. Last night, the Rockies came into the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. Were able to get an insurance run at the top of the 9th to make the path easier for their closer, Wade Davis. Today, it appears it's going to be Ottavino in the bottom of the 9th. Ottavino has not had a save since 2016. He has 11 in his career. But But apparently he's going to get a chance for one today in his hometown. They're trying to appeal to your metal side, Keith.
That band's going to have to wait for its turn.
One and two to Blackman. David Dahl waiting on deck. Rockies 3 runs, 8 hits. The Mets 2 runs, 4 hits. One-two coming to Blackman, and he fouls off the fastball. Now, the Mets have Jerry's Familia continuing to throw in the bullpen. Sets up inside, and Blackman hooks one down the right field line. Over toward the corner goes Bruce, and he runs it down. Tagging at first is Walters. He goes halfway and then heads on back. Terrific play by Jay Bruce for the second out.
Well, Walters has got to be halfway here. Jay runs this down nicely. If you're more than halfway there, you might be able to score on a double.
So 2 out. Walter's still at first, and here's Dahl, who's 2 for 4 today, a single and a double. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Rockies are a team that's always been known for their offense, but they've been winning close, low-scoring games this year. Trying to win with 3 runs today. They already have 5 wins this year where they've scored 2 runs or fewer. They only had 2 of those games last year.
They played a lot of games on the road, but nonetheless.
Dahl lifts one out to left center. Lagares back in the gap to get it. And that retires the side. So Robles works around the leadoff walk to keep it a 1-run game. Now the Mets will have Frazier, Flores, and Bruce coming up in the bottom of the 9th, trying to pull out a win in the final game of this homestand. Some theme parks, including Universal's Volcano Bay Water Theme Park, a tropical paradise like no other. Plus, stay on site at Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter today, presented by Toyota. Adam Ottavino looking for his first save in 2 years. 3-2 Colorado last of the ninth. Todd Frazier leads off and takes a slider out of the strike zone for ball one. Frazier 0 for 2 in a sacrifice fly today. Ottavino pitched last night. He issued a leadoff walk to Nimmo and then got the next 3 hitters. He is having a spectacular start to his season. The pride of PS 39 in Brooklyn.
16 scoreless outings out of 18 innings. But he's going to have to earn this one. This is tight.
Wilmer Flores on deck. Jay Bruce to follow. 2-0 to Frazier. And there's a borderline strike. Eric Cooper called it a strike, and it's 2-1. Frazier 1 for 7 in his career against Ottavino. And Todd goes after the slider and misses. 2-2.
Boy, it was a hanger right there. And he missed it. Got a lot of break in it. Big, like almost like a slurve.
Wilmer waiting. Bruce behind him. And Todd just got a piece of that to stay alive. Ottavino trying to save it for Kyle Freeland, who went 7, allowed 2 runs, 4 hits. Brian Shaw and Jake McGee combined for a hitless 8th. The Mets haven't had a hit since the 2nd inning. They scored both their runs on 3 hits in the first. Lobaton singled in the 2nd, and the Mets have not had a hit since. 2-2 to Frazier. Slider fouled off. Mets are dealing with a host of issues right now, but the lack of offense has just been stunning on this homestand. Shut out 3 times in their previous 4 games, held to 2 runs on 4 hits today. Two. Slider popped up foul, and that'll go out of play.
He's backed up on 3 sliders, Gary. That look at the stride towards the third base dugout, and that's why he gets that break in that slider. But he's hung 3 of them in that inner part where he's crowded Frazier. Just enough in to stay out of trouble.
8th pitch of the at bat coming to Todd, and he struck him out. A little cutter that time from Ottavino for the first out on the last of the ninth.
Now this hung, Gary. That's up and right down the pipe.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Flores, who's 0 for 2 in a walk today. And Ottavino, for the 2nd straight hitter, falls behind 2-0.
Both dittos, Gary, as far as pitch selection. Sliders that missed outside. Now he's got to come back.
He's throwing his slider 51% of the time this year, by far the most in his career. And he comes right back with it, and he falls behind Wilmer 3-0. We got Jay Bruce standing on deck. Hit sign?
No. Wilmer's not red hot. I would give the take. You need a base runner.
And he takes a 3-0 slider for a strike.
Just a get me over slider. Now it's 3-1. Can't throw a get me over here.
And Wilmer lays off, and he did not swing. It's ball 4. And the Mets have the tying run aboard. So all sliders to Wilmer. Jose Reyes will run for Flores. And Jay Bruce will come up and try and get that tying run home. Jay today is 0 for 3. Hit one to the warning track in center field back in the first inning. He's 0 for 5 in his career against Adam Ottavino. And the Mets need for something really good to happen here in the bottom of the ninth. Reyes at first and 1 out. And Bruce pulls one foul. Desmond playing practically on the bag, so if that ball's fair, it's going to get to him. Of course, Jay banked one off Desmond's wrist that went for a hit in the game last night. Adrian Gonzalez out on deck to bat for Jose Lobaton. Bruce goes after a fastball, and it's 0-2.
Well, Jay's really been pulling off the ball.
Ottavino is not allowed a home run yet this season. He gave up 8 of them last year. Scott Bruce now in a 2-strike hole. And Jay goes down swinging on the fastball. 2 men down. 12th strikeout for Rocky pitchers today. And the Mets are down to their final out.
Chased a bad one here. Jay's just not seeing the ball good up there right now. There's just no doubt about it.
And you got a struggling offensive team that just looks very over anxious right now.
You try to, it's tough. Everybody tries too hard.
So now it's Gonzalez, who started last night and went 0 for 4. Tying run at first with 2 out. And Adrian takes a slider for a strike, 0-1. Gonzalez batting for Lobaton. The last man on the Mets bench is Tomas Nido. He's out on deck to bat for the pitcher.
Strike with the middle. Borderline, he got the call.
Gonzalez 1 for 7 in his career against Ottavino. And Adrian lines one the other way toward the line. That's a base hit. Reyes to second. He'll stop there as Parra gets it in quickly. And now the Mets have the tying and potential winning runs on base. So Gonzalez with the pinch hit single.
And that's what you got to do. Guy's a sinker ball pitcher.
But the Mets are out of bench players, and so Mickey Callaway is forced to use Tomas Nido, a light hitting catcher, as his final hope to bat for the pitcher.
Well, this is what happens when you have 5 4-man benches.
Also losing Cespedes early in the game forced the Mets to go into their bench early. They used Conforto earlier to pinch hit. They've used Reyes to pinch run, and now they're left with Nido, who was 0 for 3 last night as a starter. Tying run at second, winning run at first, 2 out.
Well, good time to be a hero.
Nido hitting at 152. He has 1 run batted in. And he takes a slider for a strike.
interesting defense. I mean, where's Reyes going to go? I mean, Reyes might steal, you never know, but he should not. I would not pay any attention to him. And Castro at second base should be taking away that left side, right side of the infield where Nito likes to hit the ball.
Well, and against that slider, that's where Nito should be thinking about hitting the ball.
There's too much attention on second base on Reyes. It's fine to be where Castro is, right there, and you're just to the left of the umpire, but move on the other side of the umpire with the pitch.
Nito fouls it back, and now the Mets are down to their final strike.
Well, that was a good cut right there, and again under.
Oh, 0-2 to Tomas Nito. And Ottavino still keeping his eye on Reyes.
I wouldn't worry about him. Guy at home plate's the out.
And Nito takes strike 3 called, and the ball game is over. Ottavino gets his first save of the year, and for the first time since 2012, the Mets conclude an 0-6 homestand.
Well, all the sliders, and he sneaks a fastball by him on the outside corner. And Ottavino, a hard-earned save right there. And the Mets' woes continue, as Gary said. 4 hits in the first 2 innings. They didn't get another hit till the 9th. They threatened, but Ottavino shuts the door. Freeland just threw a fantastic 7 innings.
It was a slog for Noah Syndergaard for 6 innings. Hansel Robles, first game back from the minor leagues, gave up the go-ahead home run to Ian Desmond in the 8th, his second home run of the day, and that was enough for the Rockies to complete a sweep of the series. They win their 5th in a row. Mets lose their 6th in a row. The game summary presented by Verizon. Rockies win it 3-2. More from Citi Field is coming right up.